की, गौर निताय की, शिल प्रभुपाद की। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य घनञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकाकण्ठा राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। मुञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुवदेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So reading from the third canto, 5th chapter, 6th verse. Yatha puna svekham idam niveshya. Yatha puna svekham idam niveshya. Sete guhyam sa nivritta vrittihi. Sete guhyam sa nivritta vrittihi. Yogeshvara dhishvara eka itad. Yogeshvara adhishvara eka itad. Anupravisto bahuda yatha asit. Anupravisto bahuda yatha asit. Yatha puna svekha idam niveshya. Sete guhyam sa nivritta vrittihi. Yogeshvara adhishvara eka etad. Anupravisto bahuda yatha asit. Yatha puna svekha idam niveshya. Sete guhyam sa nivritta vrittihi. Yogeshvara adhishvara eka etad. Anupravisto bahuda yatha asit. Ladies. Yatha, as much as. Punaha, again. Swe, in his. Khe, form of space. Virat Rupa. Idam, this. Niveshya, entering into. Shete, lies down. Guhyam, within the universe. Saha, he, the personality of Godhead. Nivritta, without endeavor. Vrittihi, means of livelihood. Yoga Ishvaraha, the master of all mystic powers. Adishvaraha, proprietor of everything. Ekaha, one without a second. Etad, this. Anupravishtaha, entering afterwards. Bahudaha, by innumerable. Yataha, as much as. Asit, exists. Purport and translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. He lies down on his heart spread in the form of the sky, and thus placing the whole creation in that space. He expands himself into many living entities which are manifested as different species of life. He does not have to endeavor for his maintenance because he is the master of all mystic powers and proprietor of everything. Thus, he is distinct from the living entities. Purport: the questions regarding creation, maintenance, and destruction, which are mentioned in many parts of the Srimad Bhagavatam, are in relation to different millenniums, kalpas, and therefore they are differently described by different authorities when questioned by different students. There is no difference regarding the creative principles and the Lord's control over them. Yet there are some differences in the minute details because of different kalpas. The gigantic sky is the material body of the Lord called the Virat Purusha, and all material creations are resting on the sky or the heart of the Lord. Therefore, beginning from the sky, the material manifestation to the gross vision, down to the earth, everything is called Brahman. Sarvam Khala Idam Brahmaha. There is nothing but the Lord, and He is one without a second. The living entity are the superior energy, whereas matter is the inferior energy. And the combination of these two energies bring about the manifestation of this material world, which is the heart of the Lord. So first of all, I would like to seek the blessings of all the devotee Vaishnavas who have assembled here to hear this Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. And first, a very disclaimer that it's a very technical topic, so I'll try my best to actually share something, and I'll also like all the Vaishnavas to kind of like support me if there is something else they can add into, because creation of the Virat Purusha or the cosmic manifestation is quite a complex topic, but we'll try our best to kind of like discuss this and churn something meaningful out of it. So before we begin, as the translation of this verse says, he lies down on his heart spread in the form of sky. So the word here used is ka. Ka means in Sanskrit is sky. You'll often hear this word called Khechari. K means sky and Chari means one who can actually fly through the sky. And usually this word is used for describing demigods. And when we think about why are they supposed to actually fly in the sky? So the Bhagavata mentions that as human beings, our material body is 70% water and earth. So the heavy constraints of our body is you can say the density of our body is much higher, and that's why we always need to actually keep our feet on the ground because of gravity. But the demigods, their material body is created of fire and air, and that's why the gravity doesn't affect them as gravity affects us living entities. So they are khechari, or you can say one who can actually float or fly through the sky. So yatha puna swe kha. So in this particular verse, Sukadeva Goswami is saying that how the living entity, how the Supreme Lord, in his form as you can say the sky or the ether or akash in Sanskrit as we say, how he is from a very, I would use the word impersonal, because he is spread as ether, but then slowly he kind of like manifests into a more personal form, or you can say more entities, living entities which have form, color, they have sound, they have different characteristics, and they have different behaviors. So you can see like how this uniform sky or ether, which doesn't have any like material qualities of sound, vision, form, color, name, it kind of like slowly manifests into different living entities. And the verse also says Yogeshwara Adishwara. So Yogeshwara is master of all mystic powers. So along with his all mystic powers, he is actually slowly manifesting into all the chara achara. In Sanskrit we say chara achara, that means all the moving and in-moving objects. And slowly, and you can say this whole creation or combination of different living entities, whether it's demigods or human beings or plants or animals, these are all part of the universal form or the Virat Purusha. So they are all kind of like substituted, and often you will see that this Virat Rupa vision, or you can say form, is kind of like used to establish the supremacy of the Supreme Personality. So I would like to actually ask, have you encountered any other pastimes where the mention of Virat Purusha or the universal form has been mentioned? Exactly, Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna is asking, can you please show me your Virat Purusha or the universal form? And Sri Krishna says that you can't see through this normal vision, I'll give you special vision. So I think when I think about this, it's kind of like you are entering into this movie theater and you need those 3D glasses to have a 3D feel. So similarly, Arjuna gets this divine vision, and with this he is actually able to see the universal manifestation. Any other examples? Exactly. And there also, and here also it's kind of like the Supreme Personality is kind of establishing, I'm the Supreme, So because the pastime goes like, Duryodhana is like, get this Gwala, get this coward boy. And he's like, okay, you want me to get arrested? Okay, fine. And then the Supreme Personality kind of like manifests his universal form, and all the soldiers, they're kind of scared, like, what can we do? I mean, is the universal form or the Supreme Personality? And then they will kind of back off. And it says that the light emanating from the universal form was so, you can say, blinding, that all the Kurus, like Duryodhana, Karna, they couldn't see anything. But all the all the devotees, Bhishma, and then you have Vidura, they were all able to see the vision or the darshan, and they offered their prayers. Any other examples? Yeah, exactly. So, and it's quite interesting that in this form, um, Mother Yashoda actually saw herself as well, and she was kind of scared because she said, "Oh, I used to think that this is my boy, this is my son, but he's Lord Narayana himself." And I was chastising him. I was kind of like scolding him. I was such, and she kind of like very, she kind of like gets very awestruck, and she's like, "I'll not, I'll never scold him." And then Krishna thinks that, oh my goodness, what have I done? Now she'll not feed me milk, and now she will not like, because now the awe and reverence is coming, Aishwarya Bhav is coming. So it's like Krishna, Vishnu, and so then the Supreme Personality kind of like with his power, he resets the pastime, and then she's again the mother chastising. Why did you eat me? Why did you eat the soil? So, Mataji, you had something to say? You had same thing. Yes, exactly. And you have other examples also. For example, Bali Maharaj, when when Lord Vamana Dev actually took the 3 steps, he kind of like expanded into this universal form. And I found that particular pastime was very, very close to how the Supreme Personality in his universal form, you can say, appears. So I'll quickly read some verses from the 8th canto, 20th chapter, 23rd verse, because here he's, yes, Prabhu.
There's also one pastime Vrindavan Das Thakur explains when, as a way to request devotee time, to show his universal form, and he did that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Prabhuji. That's wonderful. Yeah, so in that form as well, I think the Supreme Personal Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his universal form. So just to kind of like get a feel of how the Supreme, you can say, universal form looks like. So it says, Rasam Achatangri Taleta Padayor. So when Bali Maharaj saw this universal form, on the soles of the feet, he saw all the Rasatala. Rasatala is like all the lower planets. Mahim Mahidram Purushasya Jangaya. So all the, you can say, the mountains, including Mount Sumeru, the Himalayas, all these different mountains, he could see in the calves of the Supreme Personality. Pattaringo Januni Vishwamurter, Urvor Ganam Marutam Indrashenaha. So in his thighs, the thighs of the Supreme Personality, he saw all the Marutganas. We know that there are 49 Marutganas, and Marutganas are actually the controlling deity of wind. So on the Supreme Personality's form, if you can imagine that he is standing, in his thighs he saw all the Marutganas. Sandhyam Vibhor Vashashi Gohiyam Ekshat. So it says the cloth which the Supreme Personality is wearing is called Sandhya. So Sandhya means there's 3 Sandhyas in normal day. So you have the early morning when the sun is rising, then you have the midday, and then you have the evening when the sun is setting. So in the morning and evening, just like a person puts on like an orange t-shirt in the morning, but when he has to go to work, he has to put a white shirt on because he's working in some corporate entity or something. But then he comes back, he's a brahmachari, ex-brahmachari, I guess. So he puts back his orange t-shirt again. So similarly, morning, the vastra or the cloth of the Supreme Personality is orange or saffron. Then in the midday, it's white because the sun is kind of like straight on. And then in the evening, it's again Sandhya. So it's again going, you can say, saffron or on twilight. So that kind of a color. Then it says Prajapatim Jangane Atma Mukhyam. So all the Prajapatis in Vedic context means the progenitors. So the Supreme Personality doesn't take the work of progeny, He doesn't. He wants his, you can say, living entities or his creations to actually progenate. So all the Prajapatis, including Daksha and different you can say controlling deities, they He saw them in his reproductive organ. Nabhyam nabha kukshisho sapta sindhum. So nabhyam nabha means in his navel of the Supreme Personality he saw the sky. Kukshisho sapta sindhum. So in his stomach he saw all the seven oceans. And it's quite interesting that in Ayurveda it says that if somebody has issues with his stomach, he should take a dip into the ocean, because the ocean is considered to be the universal form stomach. Uru kramas yoryasi charkamalam. So on his chest, he saw all the luminaries or all the sky, all the different stars. Then it says Hridi Anga Dharmam Stanayor Murarer. So in his heart, the heart of the universal form, he saw dharma, because that is, you can say, the main component, dharma or rightness. Stanayor Murare Ritam Cha Satyam. So in both his chest he saw Ritam and Satyam. So Ritam is speaking truth, and Satyam is also kind of like similar. Cha Manashi Athedam Shriyam Cha Vakshasi Arvinda Hastam. So Shriyam Cha Vakshasi. So in his Vakshasthal he saw Shriji or Lord Lakshmi Ji residing. Kanthe Cha Samani Samasta Refan. So in the throat of the universal form, he could see all the Vedic recitations. So all the different Vedas, the recitations, he could see in the throat. Indra Pradhanan Amaran Bhujeshu. So all the, you can say, Lord Indra with his associates, he was sitting in the arms of the universal form. Tat Karnayor Kakubha Dayoscha Murdhani. So in his ears he could see the Lord of the Directions, and then as it goes higher you can say the heavenly planet. So the entire universal form is actually, you can say, the whole combination of all different material living beings, including all the moving as well as immoving objects. And it's quite interesting that how Srila Prabhupada is also kind of like mentioning in this purport that the sky is kind of like he's taking us Hridaya Akasha. The word uses Hridaya Akasha. That means his heart, and Akash is the sky. So Srila Prabhupada is also saying that how the sky, the first ether or sky, the first material manifestation goes into the vision and then the creation of earth, because from the creation of the earth all the different entities also come out, and all of these from the impersonal sky or ether till the moving and inmoving objects or living entities, they are all part of Brahman. So that's why he's saying Sarva Kalam Idam Brahma. And then he is saying, so he has mentioned about the sky or the ether, but then the Hridaya, the heart of this universal personality is all the living entities which are his superior potency, and then all the matter. So if we imagine this room, so his heart of the Supreme Personality is all the devotees who are sitting here. At the same time, all the matter which is actually present here. So and I find it quite amazing that how in this, I mean, as devotees we are sitting in this room, we are all, you can say, interested in hearing the Bhagavatam. We are all following the regulative principles which Srila Prabhupada has established. But if we kind of like broaden our vision, and let's take this outside the temple, let's say Watford, just as example of Watford. So in Watford there's like so many different people of all different cultures and all different kind of like backgrounds and moods and behaviors and patterns, and it's just such a whole amalgamation of all different kind of like cultures and people, and not only human beings but animals, birds, you can say the plants and trees and everything. And let's take this further on a country level. So you have the South, the Scottish, the Wales. Then let's say this Europe. Then let's expand this into the world, and then let's expand this further into, you can say, the universe. So it's just seeing that how, as we kind of like, the magnifying lens is kind of like widening up the varied, you can say, the differences or the variegatedness of the whole, you can say, material creation is actually getting more and more complex, more and more diverse. So it's very, very interesting. And how how the Supreme Personality, who's just started with the sky or the ether, is kind of like so variegated or so much like differences in different like living entities which are present. And one might ask that why the material, you can say, the Supreme Personality has to actually create or get the living entities. So the answer it gives, Sri Sri Radha Gokuranda ki, Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Gaurantai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So one might ask, like, why does the Supreme Personality actually, he has to manifest all the different living entities in the material world? So the answer in the Bhagavatam is given is that he wants to give a second chance to all the living entities who are kind of like Nitya Baddha, who are kind of like situated in this material world. He wants to give them like a second chance. So we'll try to kind of like now go into like a more deeper, you can say technically complex subject of how the creation kind of like started, because I think it's a nice thing to have, because as these verses will go further and further, the entire I think topic in the next chapter also deals with how the creation started. So it's quite complex, but we'll try to kind of like summarize this in a very simple way. So all the Abrahamic religions also say that there was no one present before him. So the Vedic context also says that the Lord is actually the seer, he is the witness. There was no one there. And then he has his different energies. The Antaranga Shakti, which never is influenced by time, and which is never kind of like, there's no change, because it's always, Satchit Ananda, the Antaranga Shakti is Satchit Ananda, so it's always kind of like the same. But the Bahiranga Shakti actually goes through transformation. So Bahiranga Shakti is actually sleeping. So the Supreme Personality actually saw his Bahiranga Shakti sleeping, and in this Bahiranga Shakti, there were all the Nitya Baddha souls, which kind of like they had forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Personality. So they were all sleeping in that Bahiranga Shakti. So the Supreme Personality thought like, all the, you can say, entities which are living in Vaikuntha, which all come under the Antaranga Shakti, they are all having loving pastimes with me, like in Goluka Dham, Mother Yashoda is churning milk, or she's feeding Krishna. All the Gopganas are actually playing with Krishna, and all the gopis are actually, they're praying, they are saying, oh, we wish Krishna could be our husband. And you have this like wonderful rasa going on. Even in Vaikuntha Dham, all the, the residents of Vaikuntha Dham, they are actually worshipping the Supreme Personality. But only in the material world, or in the Bahiranga Shakti, all the entities have kind of like forgotten their relationship. And as we will kind of like go a bit deeper, we'll know also like why, and how the false ego, the ahankar, is the prime culprit of this. So this is going to kind of like recap. So at the start, in the Supreme Personality is actually existing as ether or the sky, and he is only witness, but he sees his Bahiranga Shakti sleeping, and then he thinks that actually I want to awaken her as well. And then what happens is that as the Kala Purusha or Karnakshai Vishnu, he will have his glance over the material nature, or Triguna Maya Shakti. So Maya Shakti is still kind of like very impersonal now. She doesn't have any form, and she still has the three gunas or the three modes. He will look, and then from that the Mahatattva is created. So we can imagine this as like you are entering into this house where there's a 2-year-old kid residing, and then you enters the room where the child sleeps, and then you see all these like different Lego pieces lying on the ground, right? And the Lego pieces are actually, they are like the building blocks. Like you can use those Lego pieces to form structures or different shapes and toys and stuff like that. So Mahatattva is this combination of all the different material energies. So Mahatattva is formed, and Mahatattva is primarily ahankar or false ego. And this is the exact nature why living entities in the material world are unable to, you can say, feel the rasa, because this ahankar or this false ego is this feeling that, this is mine, I'm the controller, I'm the enjoyer, this is for my benefit or my enjoyment or my rasa. So primarily the false ego which is in the Mahatattva is actually the prime reason why so the living entities can't actually taste the nectar of the Supreme Lord, because this false ego always comes in the way. And now I think we are just going like further and further deeper. So this false ego has the three modes: mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So first, the false ego will mix with mode of goodness, and then the mind is created. Then the false ego will mix with the mode of passion, and senses are created. Then the false ego mixes with the mode of ignorance, sound is created. So now you can say, till now everything was very, very subtle, but then as soon as the false ego mixes with mode of ignorance, the sound is created. And it's quite interesting that the Bhagavatam describes, normally in the material world we'll see that things will from a very gross form will go into like a more and more subtle form, right? For example, you have ice or you have snow, so it's solid, and then as you heat it up it will become liquid, and as you heat it up further it becomes gas. So it's getting more and more subtle. But the way the creation is described actually is getting from a subtle form is getting more and more gross. So you can imagine like I enter into this room, the room is really dark, I can't see anything. You can say I turn off the light and then I can see everything. But the way the creation or the creation happens is that first there's a sense of perception, and from there actually you can say light comes. So from a very subtle entity, a gross entity kind of appears. And then it kind of like the Bhagavatam describes like how the ether kind of like combines, and it gives us the sense of perception, which becomes fire. Fire and air combine, which is glanced by the Kalpurusha. Then it becomes the sense of taste, water. And then from water and fire comes the sense of touch. And then it becomes the skin. And then from water and fire, it becomes smell and the earth. And then how you can say slowly ether transforms into air, air transforms into fire, fire transforms into water, and water into earth. So it's getting kind of like more and more subtle, from more and more subtle entities, it's getting more and more into the gross forms. And till this time you can see all the different, you can say the controlling entities or the demigods are already present. But it says that even though they wanted to kind of like go further with the creation, but they were unable to create any further. So they actually prayed to the Supreme Personality that even though we are residing here in this material form or the universal form, but we'll still like to have your blessings. And then the Supreme Personality, I think Srila Prabhupada writes, with Goddess Kali or the time energy kind of comes back again. And he is again kind of like, you can say, re-energizing the universal form, and all the different entities kind of like start moving about. So till this time the universal form was very, very inactive, but the Supreme Personality, after noticing the prayers of the demigods residing within the universal form, all the living entities kind of like come back to life. And it's very, very interesting like how when the Supreme Personality is entering into different parts of the Virat Purusha, it gives different locations where the controlling deities are situated. So in the Virat Purusha's mouth, Lord Agni is residing. Virat Purusha's tongue, Lord Varuna is residing. And in Virat Purusha's nostril, the Ashwini Kumaras are residing. In the eyes, the sun god. The skin, the wind god. And the ears, the Lord of direction is residing. So how we can see like how the Virat Purusha, you have different living entities or different controlling deities kind of residing, and it kind of like gives us also, you can say, a feel of why different living entities are able to actually perform their daily duties. For example, the hands, the living entities are actually on wages because of Lord Indra. Lord Brahma, who is the representation of intelligence. That's why all the living entities are actually able to think. Then you have Rudra, who is a representation of the false ego. And then the universal form has the mouth, which is the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, which are the hand, the Vaishyas, which are the stomach, and the Shudras, which are the stomach. Um, so you can see like how this universal form is actually helpful for devotees or even non-believers to kind of like understand like um, how how the Supreme Personality is actually overruling, or he is the supreme living entity among all the living entities. So with that, I'll finish my verse and I'll ask if any questions are there. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for the nice class, Prabhu. So I had this question a few weeks ago, and I still can't really get my head around it. So it said that these different devas enter different parts of the universal form, and that gives us living beings the ability to have these different sense perceptions.
Exactly, yes.
So how does that? I'm trying to work out how that works.
So I'll just quickly recite this. So when the universal form came, the combination of all the living entities, it wasn't able to move. So you can say in the Virat Purusha's mouth, Lord Agni came, and Lord Agni resided, and that's why all the living entities are able to speak, or you can say the fire, And then in the tongue of the Virat Purusha, Lord Varuna resided. So as soon as Lord Varuna resided, all the living entities which were situated inside the universal form, they could get the sense of taste. Then the Ashwini Kumaras entered the nostril of the universal form, and then all the living entities, they could start breathing from the nostrils. And then you can say in the eyes of the Virat Purusha, the sun god resided, and then the sense of perception kind of happened. So you can see like how all the presiding deities, Lord Indra, Lord Varuna, they are kind of like coming to the different parts of the universal personality, and they are giving the energy to perform different, you can say, tasks of the living entities. So when Lord Indra actually was situated in the arms of the Virat Purusha, all the living entities were unable to move their hands till now. But as soon as Lord Indra kind of like sat on the arms, all the living entities started moving their arms. It says Lord Brahma actually resided in the head or as intelligence, and only when Lord Indra actually entered as intelligence, all the living entities could start thinking philosophically, deeper subject matters. Before that, they were kind of like in a more gross form. They couldn't actually move. Then it says that when Lord Rudra kind of like entered as false ego, then all the living entities started thinking like, actually, I should do this, I should do that, all the various sankalpas or responsibilities. So you can see that all the living entities in the universal form were kind of like very docile, and they were unable to do anything, like even getting, you can say, any knowledge or any movement, nothing like that. But as slowly different controlling deities, Lord Varuna, sense of taste, all the living entities get the taste. Agni, the sun god enters, everybody can start seeing. The Lord of Direction enters, everybody can start hearing. So all different controlling entities, as they're entering, all the living beings inside, they can actually start doing the daily work, and they also start behaving. So you can say some entities, you can say they are more in the mode of ignorance. So you can say, if let's imagine the universal form having the demigods, the human beings, and the asuras. So as Lord Rudra entered, it didn't affect the demigods so much, because demigods know the supreme position of this of Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. But the demons were like really searched as, like ego has entered, like this is mine, I am the ruler, I am the controller. So you can say how different, and that's why I think in the Vedic traditions, when we do different yagnas, we are actually provoking different devatas, For example, it says that if we do yagna for the Prajapatis, we'll have good offspring. And even the Govardhan Leela is all about a yagna for Lord Indra initially, right? Because Lord Indra is the controlling deity of water or rain. At the same time, all the livelihood for all the different gopas. So you can see like how the Vedic tradition has. If we take the Supreme Personality out of the context and just focus on this different demigods, they all have different powers and different, you can say, energies, and they actually bless the living entities with their particular energy. So Lord Vayu will give us strength, the wind god. Lord Varuna will give us a taste of water, the taste of taste sensation, and you can just see like how different entities give different qualities to the living entities. If that answers me, yeah.
So when I'm just wondering when did this happen? Is this like an ongoing thing, or is this at the start of the creation, after the long period of when all the living entities went to sleep? Was it straight after?
Yeah, so it's happening in the creation, and I'll ask Purnakarona Prabhu also to kind of like chime in if he has something to include. But yes, it's created in the creation, because till now everything was very impersonal and subtle. There was no form, but then and it kind of also says to us that the Supreme Personality wants some he wants more life, like. So even, I think Srila Prabhupada used to say that he wants his devotees to kind of like go out, preach, dance, sing, cook prasadam, because he doesn't want devotees to just sit around and just chant all day. He wants to actually go out and preach and spread the mission and color and feed prasadam, do harinams, give classes, conduct courses with School of Bhakti. He wants all of that. So because he wants that action. So similarly, you can see like here also, the Supreme Personality sees everything's kind of like very docile, and everybody's just like very, like very grey and boring. But then he wants some movement, and then as the creation is starting, you can say the different entities are kind of like coming, and they're becoming more and more gross. They're actually becoming more and more active. And just as Lord Rudra enters into the universal form, the false ego kind of like becomes prominent, and everybody starts doing their own thing. And then the devotees come, like Srila Prabhupada, who kind of like say, look, you have your false ego, but you have your minute independence, but actually this all comes under the Supreme Personality, to kind of like remind us. So it happens in the creation. So it's kind of like going from the Karandakshai Purusha, the Kal Purusha, to slowly into the living entity. So yeah, that's creation. Anybody else? Yes, man. Oh, Prajna Prabhu.
It's a simple verse which I've quoted many times actually. It says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 30, "For one who sees me everywhere and everything..." Sorry. Hold on. "For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I'm never lost, nor is he ever lost to me." That's basically it.
Thank you, Prajna Prabhu. That's Prabhuji just summed it up, So, as you can say, slowly the devotees' perception or depth of the devotional practice increases. They start seeing the universal personality everywhere.
Yes.
And he starts seeing everything and all the different living entities, the grass, because it says all the different plants or you can say different herbs. They are all the hair of the Supreme Personality. Then it says all the different kind of like the sun and the sun and the moon are actually the eyes of the Supreme Personality. All the rivers are actually the veins of the Supreme Personality. So, as Prajan Prabhu mentioned, that as one gets more and more elevated in the spiritual practice, he starts seeing everything in him, and him everywhere as well. So not only he starts seeing the material manifestation as a part of the Supreme Personality, but within each living entity, he starts seeing the Supreme Personality as well. So, such a beautiful verse, Prabhu. Thank you so much for that.
My Guru Maharaj, when I mentioned this to him, he said, yes, this is all true, but you have to understand that we're not on that level. That's something, as a sort of correction. It's a very nice verse, it's a wonderful verse, and it's all true. But you have to be aware that we're not on that level. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Harish Mataji, you had something to share? Okay. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, my question is regarding what Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, not exactly in the verse.
Yeah.
Actually, I have often thought about this, so this came to my mind. If we see how the creation is mentioned in different scriptures, like different religion scriptures, there is a slight difference. Like, Bible talks of Adam and Eve and the garden of, I forgot, some garden of Eden and, something like that. And then the Vedic scriptures talk of Lord Brahma coming out of the navel of the Lord and then Lord enlightening Lord Brahma for creation. Sometimes I would think that, all religions are ultimately about God. If everything is true, then why there are different versions and variations? Now, when I was reading this purport, I was thinking, is it because things are happening in different kalpas that there are variations, or it's just a matter of detail that certain details are not mentioned? How does it work? Like, why different scriptures give slightly different versions of creation?
I think you can see like there's a slight difference in the understanding because all the Abrahamic religions actually, they don't have the concept of samsara, that's a cycle. They more are into the concept of this is one life, try to be righteous, otherwise it's heaven and hell. But I would say the Vedic, and I was thinking about this actually, because the Vedic texts actually take this into the further level. So let's take the concept in the Muslim tradition that there's heaven where you have the 72 hurs. So hurs are angels, and the Bhagavad Gita says that somebody who has performed yagnas for many lifetimes will actually receive the heavenly planets, right? And somebody who has acted very sinfully, he will go to the hellish planets. And I think the understanding, or you can say the boundary of understanding in the Abrahamic, you can say faiths, and with all due respect, is that they kind of like stop there. But the Vedic text is saying that yes, they go to the hellish planets, but that's not the end. He's not there for eternity. He's given this different yatna sharira, it says, and it's a different, you can say, body as compared to what we have here. Because in this Panchabhautik Sharir, or on this body made of five different matters, even if we give like a slight pain or some kind of like struggle to us, it won't be like we are always going through transformations of all, you can say, janam, mrityu, jara, vyadi, so birth, old age, disease, death. So it's kind of like going through those changes. But when a living entity, for example, goes to the hellish planets, he's giving this yatna sharira where the pain is actually much more, and somehow all the punishment is given, it is able to endure. So even let's say it's thrown from a cliff, so it will fall down, it will feel the pain, but then it won't, you can say, die, it will still be there. And the Yamdutas will go pick him up, do the same thing, throw him from the cliff. He will again fall down, he will feel a lot of pain, he will cry, they'll pick him again. So, and this is all to kind of like, in a way saying that the prashchita, you can say, to reform his sinful deeds, they do that. And as soon as the deeds have been, like cleared off, or the depth has been cleared off, he is given one more chance. So he again might come as a plant or an animal, then slowly back into, you can say, the evolution of insects and birds and animals and the human being. And that's why Srila Prabhupada always used to emphasize that this human form is very, very rare. Because just imagine, from eternity, a living entity has been going through this cycle, who knows where he has come from, and whether he was a plant or an animal or a human being or a demon, anything he could be. And now he's in this human form of life. So try to actually make the best use out of it, So follow devotional practice and actually re-establish the you can say the lost relationship with the Supreme, and kind of like come into that consciousness, and then kind of like get out of the cycle. Because everything in the material world, which is just 25% of the whole creation, is just going through the cycle of first this impersonal form, then coming into form, then getting into jara or the old age, and then dying, and then mixing, and then coming back again. So it's just going through this cycle. So I feel like personally that the other faiths, they kind of like are situated that, okay, if you do good, you go to heaven. If you do bad, you fall into the sinful hellish planets, and that's it, you're just there. But the Vedic context actually takes it much further, like you are in this cycle, so you can go to the heavenly planets, you can go to the sinful planets, but again you will get a chance. And if you don't re-establish or come back to the conclusion of your relationship with the Supreme Personality, you will just keep on going through the cycle. And only when you are able to re-establish the relationship with the Supreme Personality, you can actually go beyond the material realm and then go to the spiritual realm, or be situated in the Antaranga potency, where the cycle is not happening anymore. It's a more permanent or eternal state of life. All the Vaikuntha Dham Nivasis, all the Goloka Dham Nivasis, they are not going through this cycle. They are always situated in that, you can say, relationship, in that form, and they are always serving and loving the Supreme Personality. That answers it.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaura Premanande.